Continuing Big 12 predictions for 2023, we enter the world of the BYU Cougars out of Provo, Utah. Another new addition to the Big 12 Conference this year, and Kalani Sitake's team has had it all happen. They've had their ups, they've had their downs as an FBS independent, but their first time in a conference in a while may take some getting used to, as now it is a power conference. Will BYU maybe even surpass expectations this year? And hey, this Big 12 stuff is kind of easy, right? Or are they going to take some time to get used to life in a power conference? What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome to my channel. I just said that. I'm everywhere today. I apologize, but hey, thank you so much, and welcome to my channel. Predicting all 133 FBS level college football teams this summer means I'm doing your favorite team. So hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you know when your favorite team gets uploaded. But hey, you can help me support my channel in more ways than just that. You're doing one right now by watching the video, and you guys can do more by liking, commenting, sharing, and anything else you are willing and able to do. I greatly appreciate what you guys do for this channel. We're so close to 1,000 subscribers. Can you believe it? I can't. I never thought I'd get this far. So thank you. Thank you so much. Talking about the BYU Cougars in 2023, hey, here's how things are going to work. We're going to go through a roster overview, look at who the team lost, who's coming back, and who's coming in through the transfer portal and recruiting class, as well as taking a look at the 2023 BYU football schedule and giving it a game-by-game preview and prediction. So without further ado, let's talk about the BYU Cougars in 2023, taking a look at that roster, and of course, the most important position on the field to start, the quarterback position. In the quarterback room, you do lose Jaron Hall, who was a stud for this team during his time in Provo. 3,171 yards, 31 touchdowns, 6 interceptions on 66% completion last year, and was the team's second leading rusher, showed the legs, 346 yards, 3 touchdowns for him last season. There are some returning names in this quarterback room. However, I believe that it will be the transfers coming in that are going to be the primary guys, per se, in this quarterback room for next season, as Keenan Slovis comes over all the way from Pitt, also a former USC transfer. I believe he will be your starter. He's a pretty solid quarterback. Maybe hasn't been up to code the past couple of seasons, but all in all, I think that's a very, very solid player. Very, very solid quarterback for the Cougars in 2023. And then Jake Retzlaff is a community college transfer all the way over from Riverside Community College in Riverside, California. #1 overall quarterback out of the community college portal, 71st overall player according to 24/7 Sports. Running back room, let's take a look at that. Well, your top 2 leading rushers among running backs last year are gone. Chris Brooks at 817 yards and 6 touchdowns, and Lopini Katoa, 332 yards and 2 touchdowns for him last season. You do get some returners in this running back room like Kinley Ropati and Miles Davis, but again, you got some nice transfers coming into this running back room. Deion Smith comes over by way of Colorado. Then you get a 4-star rated transfer coming over by way of UNLV and Aiden Robbins. Pretty solid running back. Those two guys may end up being the feature backs, although again, Ropati Davis will have their fair share of carries next year as well. When you take a look at the wide receiver room, Puka Nakua, however you say that last name again, I apologize. He is going to be gone. Was your team's leading receiver in receptions and yards, 48 receptions, 625 yards, tack on 5 touchdowns as well. Braden Cosper, your 4th leading receiver, is also gone. However, your 2nd and 3rd leading receivers are back from last year. Keanu Hill at 572 yards and 7 touchdowns, and Cody Epps, 459 yards and 6 touchdowns last season. And then Chase Roberts, your 5th leading receiver, does come back, 357 yards and 3 touchdowns. In the tight end room, you do lose Dallin Holker, but you return Isaac Rex, 320 yards and 6 touchdowns, was the leading receiver among wide receivers last year. And I just said all the names that had over 100 yards receiving for BYU last year. Ethan Erickson should be that backup tight end for this team come next season. And on the offensive line, Blake Freeland, Harris LaChance are going to be gone. However, we do get a transfer over in Paul Melee, and who comes back? Very good player in Kingsley Suamataia, Connor Pay, and then Braden Kime are all coming back to this offensive line. If those transfers can fit in at quarterback, running back, I do believe you have a couple transfers in that wide receiver room there as well. Fact checking that. Yeah, there are a couple guys coming over. This is going to be a very good offense here for Kalani Sitake's BYU Cougars. Now, the defensive side, what do we expect from the Cougars? Well, they are losing some good talent off of the defensive line, as Pepe Tanuvasa is going to be gone. 45 tackles last year. Good for, I believe, 7th or 8th on that team last season. Lorenzo Fauatea had 2.5 sacks last year, one of the sack leaders on a defense that didn't generate a whole lot of sacks last year, but was a sack leader for them nonetheless. And then Alden Tofa, going to be another name gone. He had 2 sacks last season as well. Now, Tyler Batty does come back. He also had 2 sacks, was the team's 5th leading tackler with 52 tackles. Among some other names like John Nelson, Caden Hausen, Fisher Jackson do come back. And you get some transfers coming over. A pair of Boise State Broncos coming over to Provo, and Isaiah Bagnaw and Jackson Gravens should be good parts of this defensive line as well. Linebacking room, you lose 2 very, very solid players. Keenan Peely and Peyton Wilger are both going to be gone out of this linebacking unit. However, your leading tackler and Ben Bywater does come back, had 98 tackles last year. Max Tooley also returns, was your 4th leading tackler at 57 of them. And both of those 2 guys led the team, or I guess tied for the team lead with 3 interceptions last year, as well as Chaz Ayu and a transfer coming over from Utah State and some other linebacker transfers. But the one on the board over from Utah State is AJ, will pronounce this last name, I apologize, Von Facan. I know I said that last name wrong, and I will take the heat for it. So I apologize sincerely to Utah State and BYU fans everywhere. When you take a look at the defensive back grouping, D'Angelo Mandel, Caleb Hayes, and Gabe Judy Lally, a very good defensive back. All of them, but especially Gabe Judy Lally, are gone. Judy Lally, 6 passes defended last year. That was second on the team, only 1 behind his teammate in Caleb Hayes, who again also leaves. Micah Harper will return, was the team's 3rd leading tackler last year. Jacob Robinson was the team's 6th leading tackler last season. And then Talon Alfrey will also come back, had an interception to his name last year, as well as some transfers. Eddie Heckard and Jaden Dunlap comes in. Jaden Dunlap, another community college transfer. He is coming over by way of Cerritos College in Norwalk, California, 14th overall rated cornerback out of the class of 2023 from a community college. So when you take a look at this BYU team, offensively, I think they're good. They're good defensively as well. Going to be a very solid competitive team in the Big 12 Conference this year. Head coach is Kalani Sitake, offensive coordinator Aaron Roderick, and her defensive coordinator is Jay Hill. As we take a look at the 2023 schedule for the Cougars, a quick rundown. Any game that's underlined is going to be a home game, and any game in italics or the slanted text will be a game on the road. Any game in green is a game the Cougars win easily, which I believe will be their first 2 games. I'll explain in a minute. Any game in yellow is a game where, hey, the Cougars are a team that, might struggle in that game. Very close competitive, but they're going to pull out the win. And red is a loss. So as I just highlighted, your first 2 games are wins. Sam Houston's going to be a team that, hey, they won an FCS title not too long ago, but they're going to be a team that's going to need time adjusting to the FBS life. They're one of the new teams this year, a member of Conference USA. They're going to need some time adjusting to life in the Big Bowl subdivision. So I see BYU beating them, and then Southern Utah should be an easy win for them as well. The Thunderbirds, I don't think, are going to be much of a challenge for this Cougar team. However, things get really, really hard, really, really fast. You got to go on the road and play the Arkansas Razorbacks. It was a fairly solid game to watch last year. Should be again this year. Arkansas's got some question marks surrounding KJ Jefferson and his health. But if he can be healthy, there's a lot of good talent in that Arkansas offense. Defensively, they are losing a lot of talent as well, but that's a very good, very, very good Arkansas team. I don't know that BYU is going to be able to handle the heat that Arkansas is going to bring out of the SEC this year. Offensively, defensively, I do think that is a better team over there in Arkansas, and it doesn't help the Cougars are going to have to go play on the road. So I do believe Arkansas, if KJ Jefferson is healthy, they'll make that Cougar defense pay, and Arkansas will be able to win that game. I got Kansas doing kind of the same thing. I think the lack of a pass rush from last season will get somewhat fixed this year, but I guess not necessarily lack of a pass rush, but just a sack, just generating sacks going to be a problem in that game. You got to get Jalen Daniels to the ground fast, because if he doesn't find anything through the air, well, he's going to find something with his legs. He's a very talented player, albeit that Kansas defense does need work as well. But I believe with that Kansas offense, and especially such a dual threat quarterback like Jalen Daniels at the helm of that team, I think they're going to give it to the BYU defense, and they are going to end up losing that game. Cincinnati, though, I think will be a nice bounce back, as the Bearcats may struggle this year in 2023. When you take a look at this Cincinnati team, they lose a lot. Not only their head coach, Luke Fickell, but there's a lot of talent gone out off that team, as you probably could have predicted with the head coach being gone. Some of them followed his way over to Madison, while others went to other programs. That's going to be a year for Cincinnati to, they're really going to struggle in the Big 12 conference this year, I feel. Life adjusting in a power conference, going to take some work. Very successful time in the American Athletic. But again, Scott Satterfield as that head coach, not a bad option. I just think he's got some years of building ahead of him in the Big 12 conference. BYU wins that game. TCU is up here after the BYU bye week. And with the TCU Horned Frogs, this is a team that loses a lot of talent from last season. Max Duggan, Quentin Johnson, D. Winters, Travius Hodges-Tomlinson, among some many other names. Both of their leading rushers from last year, among many other names I could mention, are gone off this TCU team. However, BYU's got to go play this team on the road. And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of very good pieces here. Sonny Dykes is a very good head coach with Chandler Morris at the helm. I think there are a lot of good weapons, a lot of good guys coming in through the portal. I think TCU's going to be able to reload. No, they're not going to be as good as they were last year, in my opinion, but I do believe they'll be good enough to be able to beat the BYU Cougars and hand the Cougars their third loss of the year. So halfway through the season, they are 3-3 and 500, and the schedule does not get easier because you got to go play Texas Tech. And I'm a believer of the Red Raider hype. I think there's a real Big 12 contender in Lubbock, but there are some games that Texas Tech may get shocked by, and I think this is one of them here. I think BYU's got all the talent to be able to compete with Texas Tech. And again, if this is still a team that's not generating sacks, well, quarterback play was not necessarily the strength of this Texas Tech team last year. And if that doesn't get better, that could haunt them in this game. I have faith that it will get better, but I also have faith that this BYU sack production will get better as well. I think the Cougars are going to end up making some plays, especially defensively, to help shut down that Tech offense and win them that game. But I do not see BYU's offense being able to do the same thing against Texas. Too much offensive firepower with Quinn Ewers at the helm. All the embarrassment of riches in that wide receiver room. And even though Bijan Robinson and Roschon Johnson are gone, yeah, you can say the running back room, and I've said it before, may not be as good as it was last year, but they are still loaded in talent at the running back position. That's going to be too much for the Cougars to handle. They're going to end up dropping that game to the Texas Longhorns. But then you got to go on the road and play West Virginia, the Mountaineers, and by this point, I do believe Neil Brown will be fired. Even if he isn't, though, he is not the head man for the job. West Virginia loses JT Daniels, a lot of other very nice talent. I don't see them being super competitive in the Big 12 Conference this year. While I do have them making this game close, I think BYU's got enough offensive and defensive firepower to be able to outlast the Mountaineers in West Virginia. Then you got to come back home and play a tough game against Iowa State. Do not overlook this Cyclones team, as this is going to be a very tough team to play. Yes, they are losing Xavier Hutchinson, a lot of other pieces offensively, but two mainstays do come back. Hunter Deckers and Jarrell Brock on the offensive end. Did I say offensively earlier? Sorry, I meant to say they lose a lot of other pieces defensively is what I meant to say. But with Hunter Deckers, Jarrell Brock coming back, they are getting some transfers into that program that I think can boost them. I think Matt Campbell's going to have this squad ready to go. But BYU at home in Provo, very tough place to play. I think you clinch a spot in a bowl game right here with the win over the Iowa State Cyclones. I think the defense steps up, is going to be able to make some plays for BYU, and they're going to be able to win that game. However, I do not think you're going to beat Oklahoma. Kind of the same story with Texas. Too much offensive firepower with Dylan Gabriel, a lot of talent surrounding him. I recognize the defense has to get better with Oklahoma. Absolutely. However, I have faith that it will get better, and I think just offensively, Oklahoma will be enough to overpower this Cougar defense from its offensive end, be able to beat BYU, and I got Oklahoma State being able to beat BYU as well. Now, Oklahoma State was a team that did get a little bit ravaged by the transfer portal, but there's still a lot of nice talent defensively, and if there's one thing that you should learn as a college football fan, it's you never count out Mike Gundy. I think Oklahoma State's going to be able to win that final game of the year, push BYU to a 6-6 record. Hey, not a bad year for your first time in a power conference, and I could see that record being a lot better with the talent that is here. But again, it's going to be tough sledding in the Big 12 this year. A lot of very competitive teams. I got BYU going 6-6 in 2023. Let me know your thoughts on the Cougars in the comment section below. And as always, remember to play hard but tailgate harder. See all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.